Hello, everyone. I hope you're safe and sound at home. These past 3 weeks have certainly been very difficult. Before I get going on the answers to the questions that people had asked in the surveys, as well as just an overview of what we've done and where we're going, I do want to say thank you to all of the students who have been putting in forth effort. It has been very encouraging, and thank you to all of the parents who have shown your support during this. That too has been very encouraging. So we go back to 3 weeks ago when this began, and our first week was a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And our objectives were, let's keep it short, simple, and let's work out the kinks. There was a lot going on. At this point, Dr. Fauci had said that this pandemic is looking to be 12 to 18 months, and Governor Whitmer was debating about issuing a stay-at-home order. So on top of everyone's life changing in the academic world, everyone's life is changing everywhere. So I wanted to keep this short and simple and just try to establish contact and work out any of the kinks with the new online learning that we were going to be doing. In fact, the very first activity was, what is your name? That was the very first thing that they were asked. And then, of course, it was followed up by some other activities. As we moved on into the second week, we got into some more rigor and some more activities. And I was able to get more data about what would and would not work. So on top of the data and activities, I was able to provide students with some form of self-evaluation. Again, just to remind people, myself and no one on the Bloomfield staff has ever gone through anything like this before. There was no college course called Teaching in a Pandemic 101. It didn't exist. So everything that we are doing is learning, even on our side of things. So as we had gone through, we had done some Google Hangouts to make face-to-face contact virtually, of course, as well as providing some electronic notes and moving on to providing videotapes of me going through notes. And as we got into the third week, things got a lot more intense in terms of the rigor of the course. And in fact, at the end of the third week, today is Friday, April 3rd. So tonight, the third week concludes, and it concludes with an assessment for the students for them to get some feedback of what have you learned and what have you not learned. And I'll have more information about that in a moment. As we continue to go through, I was getting a lot of emails with questions from both students and parents. I think I've gotten more emails in the past 3 weeks than I have in the entire previous 3 quarters of the school year, which is why I wanted to do this video and why I wanted to send out a survey asking the questions for parents and students to have a chance to ask questions, because I've gotten, I would say, easily pushing about 50 to 70 or 80 emails about how is grading going to work, for example. So let's go through the questions that I've been asked, and I'm going to do my best to answer as many of them as I can. So the first one is, well, is my student doing the work? So like I said before, the first week, the very first assignment was, what is your name? And about 30% of the students did that for the first week. And now those assignments did not close, and as we're coming to the end of the third week, we're at about half. So we're at about half. Why are we at about half? There's a lot of reasons why we're at about half. One is the Department of Education went ahead and released a statement that definitely was rather interesting in terms of, would the days count for school, would they not? How would they count for grades, would they not? And that created a lot of confusion, and it was certainly frustrating for a lot of people. But in the end, people got the sense that, well, this does not count for a grade, and it doesn't. but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. You should definitely still do it. Other things is there's technology issues. Some households have one computer for the household. Some households, the older siblings are taking care of the younger siblings because the parents either have to go to work still or they're working from home. And there's obviously, the emotional state. For example, there are some students who have both parents in the medical profession, and therefore that student is home alone during the entire day. So for the students, I do want you to know I do understand that there's a lot of reasons why things were or were not done. And that's why when we get to grading in a moment, I've put forth policies and have asked the district to, and the district has been supportive and in agreement. In fact, I think the district started working on it before I even said anything. The idea that we don't want, even if we do grades, we don't want any grades that is going to hurt anyone's current standing in the class. That would just be simply unfair. In all this chaos, I've even been late on doing things. On the second week, I was supposed to send out the information at about 10 a.m., but I couldn't because I had to go and run errands for my parents. That was the day the governor said that the state's shutting down at midnight, and my parents are 68 and 71. So they were not going to be able to go outside and do errands, partially because I told them they can't. I told them they're not allowed to, and they have been in house quarantine for about 3 weeks now. Fortunately, they are doing quite well, other than just being bored and missing family time. Now, the most common question that I've gotten by far is, how is grading going to work? So, what we're going to do is this is all going to happen by Saturday morning. It's going to take me a little bit of time to do this, but I'm going to open up every single WebAssign and every single pre-flight that was issued before the break. So this includes the information that is already in the gradebook, as well as assignments that were due before the closure but did not make it to the gradebook yet. Those are all going to go into the gradebook, but you have until the end of April to finish all of the WebAssigns and all of the pre-flights. The second thing I'm going to do, because I can, is some students would say, well, I didn't do too well on some of those WebAssigns and some of those pre-flights. Well, one, the WebAssigns allow you up to 100 attempts. So when I do extend those, if you got, say, a 3 out of 5 your first time, you can go back to that WebAssign and you can raise your score by getting more questions correct. The pre-flights, I'm going to grant a second attempt for everyone. So if you've already attempted it once and you were not happy with that grade, you got a second shot at it. If you have not attempted it at all, you have 2 attempts for that assignment. I will be updating those grades as time moves on. It will take some time, especially since I am granting the entire month of April to do these assignments. So please be patient with the gradebook and getting those grades adjusted. Now, the activities that we have been doing for the past 3 weeks, as well as the activities we're going to be doing in the future, that's where things get a little bit tricky. I don't have a clear answer for you right now. What I have heard and what the governor did say yesterday is that grades cannot be issued in a manner that would hurt someone's current standing. What that means is, since everyone's situation is very different right now, if you're unable to do the online learning for whatever the reason may be, that will not be held against you. Now, let's say you have made up everything and you're still not happy with the existing grade. Maybe you have a B and you want to try and get the A. I can't say what I'm going to be able to do in the future because the district has not established a policy on that yet. What I can say is I have been proposing to the district that grades could be allowed to help students, but they could not be used to harm students. So perhaps in this new world, if you end up doing something that would effectively lower your grade, that would not be held against you. And this will definitely be challenging as we go on. And my next question I'm going to get into is, well, would it be accuracy or completion? I'll get into that in a moment. Another small question not asked as frequently, but some parents have been asking, so how do I know how my son or daughter is doing if these grades aren't being issued? Well, at the moment it is being proven to be very difficult to provide that kind of feedback without grades. For the time being, I would encourage you to sit down and have a discussion with your son or daughter and ask them, what have you learned? What have you been doing? If they tell you for my class that we haven't been doing anything, they're lying. We have been doing things. We've been doing a lot of things. So, my recommendation would be sit down and have that conversation. What have you learned? Moving on to, would it be graded for accuracy or completion? Again, I know this is annoying to hear, but that is still a little bit unknown. My hope is to be able to do both, similar to how we are in the school year. I want to, as I do accuracy, I will most certainly be taking into account the increased degree of difficulty that we see in these particular activities, because it's not your normal at home or at school face-to-face in-class learning, and there's a natural increase in difficulty that comes with that. I will also, one of the things that I would be doing is providing multiple opportunities for students to do something until they've received a grade that they are happy with. Completion, definitely completion will probably be a bigger portion of it. For example, labs. It is very difficult to guarantee that you're going to get a correct answer on a lab because we don't have live time clarification of the lab questions. And that is something too that would be taken into account during this. Another question is, can all the teachers start using the same platform? And I'm happy to say I do have an answer for that one. The answer is yes. Yes, we can. In fact, the district is rolling out what they call a Continuous Learning Plan 2.0. And in Continuous Learning Plan 2.0, students are going to, I don't have it live for you to show, otherwise I would, but there's going to be a Word document or Google Doc, and it's a template, and it shows all the departments: science, math, social studies, English, art, world language, etc. And you would click on to that particular department. And within that, you would have a listing of the courses that that department offers. And you click on the course, and it's going to take you to the Continuous Learning Plan 2.0 for the course. For those of you who have been doing the physics work, you've seen that the template that I have been using, it is slightly different what the district is using, but it is very, very close to the same thing. So you should have no difficulty transitioning from what we have been doing in the previous 3 weeks to what we're going to be doing from here on out. It's a really great idea, and there should be no concern about moving in that direction. So in these continuous Learning Plan 2.0, they're going to be issued in 2-week blocks. Because we are a block-based school, there are some weeks where we meet 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Then there's some times where we meet 2 days a week on Tuesday and Thursday. But in general, every 2-week cycle, we have 5 class periods, 5 meetings. So there are 5 engagements in each 2-week block. And we're going to, for physics, we're going to move through sort of an introduction, then move you through some of the learning objectives, and finish it up with an assessment piece. Again, how's the grading work on this? When I know, I will happily pass that information on. Another question I've been getting a lot is, are we going to have set class times with lectures. So this is above my pay grade. From my understanding at the moment is there is no plan to do so. I don't know if that will change. I do know that last night Superintendent Watson had a online board meeting, and the school board had an online board meeting, and in it Superintendent Watson talked more about the Continuous Learning Plan 2.0. I would encourage you to go and listen to Superintendent Watson's information that he gave out about the CLP 2.0. For what we will be doing in physics is we're going to have daily office hours Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 10:45. Office hours are just that. This is not lecture or instruction. This is you come to me to get additional help. You should come to office hours if you need to with questions in mind already. Think of it like advisory. You're coming to advisory because you have questions. I didn't teach new content in advisory. I didn't lecture on anything in advisory. As for class times, class lectures, there are going to be lectures or lessons presented throughout the 2-week cycles, and towards the top of it, you're going to see where that information is. All of these are going to be conducted on Zoom. I moved away from Google Classrooms. I'm sorry, not Google Classroom, Google Hangouts and Google Chat, because Zoom has more features that I really do like, and personally to me Zoom is much better than Google Hangouts and Google Chats. A quick thing about AP exams. I know that not everyone is in an AP class. This will take 60 seconds, I promise, because there's more information after this. Or perhaps your son or daughter's in a different AP class, and so this information would still apply to you. Say if they're in AP US History, this would still apply. So today, the College Board is supposed to release a new schedule for the exam dates. By the time I'm recording this, they may have actually already done it yet. I have not seen it yet, but I haven't checked in quite some time. What I do know, though, is they said that there will be 2 exam dates per exam, and the format is it's going to be online, so therefore it's open book, open note, open whatever. It's going to be 45 minutes for each exam, and it's going to be all FRQ or free response questions. What I can say about that is some people, I know you're thinking like, it's open note, it's open book, I don't have to study. Yes, you do. This is a 45-minute exam. They know that you have open book, open note. If you spend that 45-minute clock looking things up for the exam, you're not going to have enough time to solve the problems. The open note, open book is for quick reference. So you should be ready to go on the exam as though you don't necessarily need the open note, open book. The open note, open book is for that piece of information where I forgot about this equation, or I forgot how this particular rule works, and you can quick reference it. The best thing. Now, the content for AP exams has been reduced to about 70% of what it normally would be. And so a lot of people have asked, well, what about the content that's not going to be covered in the exam? That's an excellent question. The content that's not going to be covered in the exam is what we're going to do after those AP exam dates. If you think about it, for example, one of the things that AP Physics 1 has not done is electric circuits. If you become an engineer and you don't know how electric circuits work, it's not good. It's kind of like a doctor not understanding how to do a blood draw. I mean, it may not be what the doctor does day to day, but they should know how to do it. With that, I do want to say thank you to everyone for your support. Thank you to all the students who have been supportive and the effort you put in. Thank you to all the parents that have been supportive. The emails have been great. I would love to reply to every single email, and I'm doing as much as I can. It's like I said earlier, I've gotten more emails in the past 3 weeks than I have in the past 3 quarters. My final note on today is back on the pandemic. This is, in my opinion, the biggest thing to happen to the nation since World War II. But we will get through this. The actions that we are taking today the stay-at-home actions, moving to the online learning, it's not fun. It's not what we want to do. It's not how we normally do things. But the act of doing that is saving millions of lives. This COVID-19 virus is said to have a rather high percentage-wise. They call it 2%. 2% sounds small. If you score a 98% on a test, that means you got 2% of things wrong. No one complains about a 98%. You're very happy with that. Run 2% on a national population of the United States. It's suddenly a big number. So know that as much as this sucks, this is the right thing to do. And your continued efforts in this are saving lives, not just a few lives. You're saving millions of lives. So thank you for everything that you've been doing, and I will continue to be here for the entire school year, answering as many questions as I can and providing all the help that I can. Thank you very much, and please stay safe.